All right, guys. So the portal has been, very interesting. Really, we see from the transfer portal a couple of big takeaways, like Texas Tech having obviously a great portal season. Nebraska has been thriving lately. Nebraska gets a kid, Dane Key. Obviously, their new wide receiver coach, Dazel Shorts, worked with him at Kentucky last year. Now, they didn't have a great passing game. And again, as I covered in other videos, the SEC defenses is like playing in the NFL. So it's going to be so hard to, move the ball. And you got Brock Vandergriff, who was inexperienced, Gavin Wimsett, Bush Hampton, who's kind of an inexperienced coordinator at the SEC level. So it was a mess at Kentucky. They only won one game last year at Kentucky. It was an absolute mess and a revolving door at quarterback and with everything. Dane Key's 21 years old, going to be 22 years old. Looking at his stat profile, 6'3" wide receiver. He was from Lexington, Kentucky. If we're going to review his statistics throughout his entire career, in 2023, each year he's been productive. He's had 600 receiving yards, 700 receiving yards. So I really like this because you get a bigger kind of outside wide receiver. Seems like he's going to be a possession type wide receiver. You lose the boa constrictor, Nate Bokacher. Shout out to the Nick Bob podcast. You lose him to Texas A&M. He's joining that Trev Alberts plan. But Nebraska in this portal, it's been really fun for Nebraska. So they're going to get Dane Key out of the portal. They have 10 commits out of the transfer portal. They also got a wide receiver from Cal, Nyzia Hunter. So they get another wide receiver from Cal. And then we have Dane Key in the transfer portal. Hunter McCullough is somebody from Oklahoma. Justin Rhett. So they're getting guys from high-profile programs that were at least considered very good recruits that at least have the athletic profile to play big. But now you're going to have Hunter in this wide receiver room. You're going to have Jacorri Barney that is going to be there. Now you have Dane Key that you add. And then Cortez Mills is a freshman that's an absolute speedster. All right. And hopefully Fedoni, that's still on the roster, can go out there and can ball out. So I'll look at Nyzia Hunter as well. So Nyzia Hunter from Cal. Let's see the profile of him. So he's a freshman. He's 6'2". If we look at his statistics, he played 1 year, had 40 receptions for 578 yards, 5 touchdowns. Nyzia Hunter. That, my friends, is really impressive. He had 2 touchdowns against the Auburn Tigers. So, unfortunately, seems like a speedster just by his, average yards per reception. So that's exciting again for Nebraska. So they get Dane Key. They're doing well. Justin Rhett, McCullough. This Nebraska transfer portal class is in the top 10. So Matt Rhule and this staff has kind of recovered now. You do worry about the defensive line group, losing James Williams, losing Jamari Butler, losing Prince Will, losing all of these guys. Like, I worry about that. But with Matt Rhule, again, you have to pick where you worry. And offense with Dylan Raiola, that's going to be the biggest key. So now you got Hunter, who's exciting. You got Dane Key, who's a real veteran, who you freaking need now at wide receiver. Boy, oh boy, I love it. Beat out Georgia for this commit. Like, there you go, Nebraska. So, and then I think that Barney looks like a star as a freshman. You got Dylan. Emmett Johnson still on the roster. I don't know why Dowdell decided to bounce. Like, Dowdell would have been still getting a bunch of carries. It would have been a 1-2 punch of thunder and lightning, but we're going to have to see. Dowdell going to transfer now to a third straight college. Boy, oh boy, a lot of movement with Dante Dowdell. I'll tell you that. So overall, Nebraska, they're putting in work. Dane Key, top 10 recruiting, top 10 portal class for Nebraska. Good wide receiver play. Ironically, this is now going to be a team that's going to lean on their offense, and their defense is going to have to be a pesky young crew that has to get developed by Matt Rhule. But if you look at his strengths, what will Matt Rhule do well? He will get defenses playing, overachieving above their heads. If you look at what Matt Rhule struggles at, it's getting explosive passing play. It's developing quarterbacks at the NFL level or at the college level that are incredible quarterback. I don't think Matt Rhule ever has his time as a head coach. Like, he had P.J. Walker at Temple, who was a fine quarterback who played in the NFL, who was okay. He was pretty good. You had Brewer at Baylor that was a fine quarterback, but not going to set the world on fire. And then he even had Darnold and Mayfield, so he was right on the evaluation. But he hired Joe Brady, who ended up being too young, and then Ben McAdoo was just flat out not a good hire. So now he has Dana Holgerson. He's giving Dana this offense. Dana now can just focus on offense. What are Hunter and Key going to do with Nebraska? So overall, I like what they're doing at Nebraska. If the defense slides a little bit, they do. Some of these guys that they're losing, frankly, the defense with Tony White, losing Tony White, again, like I said, with John Butler and Phil Snow, it's going to be interesting defensively. But this is like a new era of Nebraska. The goal here is to get Dylan feeling great and putting up huge numbers. Kind of, if you have a Joe Burrow-like Bengals team where your offense is balling and the defense has to get caught up, that's fine, because I think you'll win more games in college football with an explosive offense anyway. And then Matt Rhule can put the pieces together so that you can go out and eventually compete for championships. So I like what Nebraska's doing here. These are fun pieces to add to the wide receiver room. And getting 2 wide receivers in the portal, there you go, Nebraska. Well done.